Latest on the Pak fishing boat incident, Headlines Today has accessed details of transcripts intercepted by the NTRO and the Coast Guard on the 31st of December. These transcripts are of a conversation between two boats which started from Karachi at 9 a.m. on the 31st. The transcripts suggest that the two boats purportedly carrying explosives were in contact with the Pak Maritime Agency and the Pakistani Army. Calls from the boats were also made to Karachi and an unknown location in Thailand. Questions are now being raised about whereabouts of the second boat. At 5 a.m. on the 1st of January, the boat reportedly sent a message saying equipment has been transferred. Shortly after that, the boat reportedly developed a snag and moved back to Karachi. Let's get a word from our correspondent Hamza Amir, who's with us on a live via Skype from Islamabad. Hamza, intercepts available with Headlines Today show that the boats were in touch with the Pak Maritime Agency and the Pakistani Army. This is proof that the Pakistani government will find difficult to refute.
Well, I think, it is actually an important piece of evidence, but I think that needs to actually be handed over to Pakistan, and also the pressure that needs to actually react on this has to be inserted. We've seen in the past similar incidents or somewhat the same sort of incidents have happened, and those have been given, but unfortunately nothing has come up. Pakistan over here is trying to use the retaliation sort of and a confrontation sort of a tactic, in which the defense minister was saying that India needs to be spoken to the language they understand, and that is not of peace, which is something that is disturbing. And now this coming out that the boat actually was from Pakistan and they were in contact with the Pakistani authorities is certainly a very major piece of evidence, and it needs to be handed over to Pakistan as soon as possible.
Right, Hamza, stay on with us. Let's also get a word from our Strategic Affairs editor Gaurav Sawant, who's with us on the phone line from the National Capital. Gaurav, earlier there were some questions being raised as to where that second boat went, but now we're being told that the boat sent a message saying equipment has been transferred on the 1st of January at 5 a.m. and then went back to Karachi. This is going to be a cause for concern for Indian security agencies.
The information is still being pieced together. Information is still being collated. There are various bits of intelligence inputs that are coming in, Simi, that seem to indicate that this was more than just what was initially suspected, an illicit consignment transfer, mission. From what sources are telling Headlines Today and Aaj Tak, the information seems to indicate that there was something far more sinister at hand, and these two boats were acting in tandem. The second boat is understood to have made the consignment transfer and gone back. However, just based on one intercept, the Coast Guard sources are telling us that they are not taking it at face value. They still have more than two ships and aircraft in these waters, for the simple reason that this could well be an attempt to divert their attention or perhaps call off their operation. What we're also being told is there are other resources that may have to be used in this operation. While they're not openly saying that this was an open terror strike to hit out at the port of Gujarat or to hit out, at the Gujarat coastline, at the same time they're saying post 26/11, nothing can be taken for granted, and this could well be, if not the scale of 26/11, but something similar in terms of whether transfer of men, material, or explosives. But this clearly, according to our sources, was a mere smuggling operation, Simi.
This obviously wasn't a mere smuggling operation, more to it than meets the eye. Hamza Amir, our correspondent, is with us via a Skype link from Islamabad. Hamza, we do know that the Pak government has rejected reports that the two boats left the port of Karachi. We also got a statement from a minister of the Pak government saying that India is trying to deflect attention from some other incidents that took place along the border. How is the story being reflected by the Pakistani media?
Well, in Pakistan, there's not too much of a hype created on this, because there are a lot of other internal issues going on as far as, the Pakistan diplomatic front and political front is concerned. But this is certainly, is actually pinching the Pakistani authorities, because the first official statement we got from Pakistan was an angry one. Defense minister saying that India needs to be spoken to the language they understand. That means that it actually hints back to the same, that if they do not understand the language of peace, then what else are we talking about? You've got tensions in the line of control. You've got casualties now again starting of local civilians living nearby on both sides of the border. The working boundary and the line of control in Kashmir already are being vacated from civilian localities, and now you have this incident as well. So I think it's the chain. If you connect the chain, it seems that the same sort of a divide or something that might have been actually worked on to initiate composite dialogue or talks between India and Pakistan on important issues like Lakhvi himself, like Hafiz Saeed, like Mumbai terror. Certainly, something has been done that should actually stop this process. I'm talking about the military establishment, stretch with the political front. If they do not agree on Pakistan-India talks, then this is something that starts happening again as well. So I think, going forward, Pakistan is actually feeling the pinch, but certainly the media and the talk in Pakistan is not too much.
Right, Pakistan feeling the pinch but remaining defiant at this stage. Hamza and Gaurav, thanks so much for taking us through this developing story. Crucial evidence that Headlines Today has been able to access intercepts that show that there were two boats that left the port of Karachi on the 31st morning. One of the two boats actually managed to come back and dock itself after sending a suspicious message saying that equipment has been transferred. We'll continue tracking developments. We also managed to speak to some defense experts a short while back. Here's what they had to say.
This thing still needs to be pieced together because there are still some gaps and some questions which can be raised about this entire affair. It's not my case that I'm doubting what has happened. But, one would really like a little more clarity. Of course, if the kind of transcripts we are now getting to hear about, if those are true, then, of course, it adds yet another dimension to this entire crisis. And then this whole business of a non-state actor carrying out an operation on its own to, spoil the pitch between India and Pakistan, I think all of that goes up in smoke. And then it is a non-state actor working at the behest of a state actor.
In the light of the most recent inputs that have come into the public domain, which suggests that there was communication between this particular boat or the vessel and somebody in the Pakistani establishment, as also I am told that there is some linkage with Southeast Asia, clearly points to what you might call as a much larger game plan. And from yesterday evening, when we were discussing this again on your channel to where we are now, I think we are getting a little more clarity about the scale of this entire operation. And yesterday we used the word illicit in terms of the vessel and the fact that it was carrying suspicious cargo, which resulted in the self-explosion.
Pakistan, meanwhile, has rejected reports of a fishing trawler from Karachi entering Indian waters in the night of the 31st of December. The boat had been intercepted by the Indian Coast Guard. It refused to stop in spite of warnings, and eventually the 4 men on board blew up the vessel. Speaking to reporters outside Pakistan's Parliament House, Minister Khwaja Asif said that Islamabad was working at reining in terror, but India was trying to divert attention from the killing of 2 park rangers with this boat incident. India retaliated to the statement from Pakistan. Home Minister Rajnath Singh said that India will ensure its security is not breached at any cost.
हम लोगों ने अभी तक जितना अधिकतम हो सका है सुरक्षा व्यवस्था को चाक चौबंद करने की कोशिश की है ताकि 26/11 की घटना की पुनरावृत्ति भारत में न हो सके.
Maritime policing isn't an easy subject. India has had an historical brush with this particular subject, be it 1993, be it 2008, or be it what took place on the evening of 31st of December. However, the only difference that one can make out from this very operation is that it is emerging, even though right now we do not know the entire set of what took place on the intervening night between the 31st of December and the 1st of January. But what is emerging are optimistic, healthy signals for now. The intelligence agencies were able to get an intelligence input about the movement of this suspicious vessel, which the Defense Ministry claims was carrying explosives for an illicit transaction in the Arabian Sea. The intelligence inputs were then subsequently passed on to the agency concerned and in charge of maritime policing, the Indian Coast Guard, and after that, the Indian Coast Guard, which plays the role of the constabulary on at sea, is basically tasked with checking, intercepting all these kinds of inputs and suspicious vessels. The agency itself swung into action, flew sortie after sortie of its Dornier aircraft from the Porbandar airbase to the very site where this particular vessel was making an ingress, and then roughly 10 nautical miles inside the notional international maritime boundary line is where it was challenged. Some shots were fired by the Indian Coast Guard across the bows, however they insist, after which the four men, they say, emerged on the deck, took an assessment of the Coast Guard's presence around them, and then went inside, locked themselves up, and according to the Defence Ministry again, they set the ship, the vessel, ablaze. After that, there's been no trace. The Coast Guard says bad weather, rough winds has been an impediment in their effort to locate and fetch the debris, which is an extremely critical part of the investigation. So that hasn't happened till now. But for now, it does seem the optimistic part of this entire operation is that there seems to be a system which is finally working. India, as I said, has had a bloody tryst with maritime policing. It seems, at least for now, that chapter perhaps can be looked back in terms of history, because this operation has given you an idea that there exists a healthy coordination between different agencies. With camera person Sajid Alam of Porbandar, Jugal Purohit reporting for Headlines Today.
And the other big story we're tracking this evening, Pak aggression on land as well. 1 civilian dead and 8 injured as Pak Rangers opened fire on civilian areas in Samba sector of Jammu and Kashmir. About 400 to 500 villagers were forced to flee their homes. Villages along the international border remain on the edge after Pak stepped up ceasefire violations. Pak Rangers resorted to mortar shelling and heavy firing on several BSF posts along the Indo-Pak border in Samba as well. Most of the shelling is reportedly happening in Chiliari and Ramgarh area. There was a brief lull after overnight exchange of fire. 30 BSF posts have been targeted in Samba and Kathua districts of Jammu and Kashmir. The ceasefire violation is the 5th by Rangers in as many days and 9th in the last 10 days. Apart from border outposts in Samba sector and the Hiranagar sector of Kathua districts are also being targeted. The government said there is no doubt that Pakistan was trying to push militants into Jammu and Kashmir and giving them cover fire.
पाकिस्तान बार बार सीज फायर का वायलेशन क्यों कर रहा है, और जबकि बार बार उसे मात खानी पड़ती है, उसके बावजूद कर रहा है। और जब जब भारत और पाकिस्तान के बीच युद्ध भी हुआ है तो बराबर पाकिस्तान पराजित हुआ है, उसके बावजूद सीज फायर वायलेशन कर रहा है। पाकिस्तान हमारा पड़ोसी देश है, हम अपने हर पड़ोसी के साथ बहुत ही अच्छे रिश्ते चाहते हैं, आज भी चाहते हैं कि हमारे अच्छे रिश्ते हों। लेकिन मैं समझता हूँ पाकिस्तान सरकार को भी अपनी तरफ से पहल करनी चाहिए ताकि इस प्रकार का सीज फायर वायलेशन न हो।
We are right now at the ground zero. This is the front line area of Samba sector, the international border, and I can tell you that just few kilometers away from here is where the entire action is taking place. If my cameraman can show you this entire area, it falls in the direct line of fire from the Pakistani outposts. We are giving you these details right from the ground zero where this entire action has been taking place. Throughout the night, there was continuous gunfire going on in this entire area, and now villagers who are living along this region have completely evacuated their places. Their houses are completely left vacant now. This entire area is basically where the entire shelling has been taking place. Mortar shells and gunfire has been reported in these places from Pakistan side. I can tell you that at least 30 border outposts in this region are involved in this entire action, and even now intermittent firing is being reported from various places where the BSF has been telling us that the Pakistani sides have continuously been firing at them, and they are responding in equal caliber. Till 7 in the morning there was very heavy gunfire going on, and after that the gunfire resumed with a brief lull in the action, and now various places in these regions are still receiving gunfire. We've been told that few villagers are injured also in this firing, and many of them have evacuated these places. Clearly, tension still prevailing in these frontal areas of the international border in Samba sector and other adjoining places of Jammu division. With cameraman Dilip Sahu, Shujaul Haq in Samba for Headlines Today.
More than 500 villagers have been forced to flee their homes after Pakistani Rangers started targeting civilian areas with mortar shells. One person was killed and almost 8 injured in Pak firing overnight. Pictures on your screens we're getting from Samba sector of Jammu and Kashmir. People being forced to pack up their belongings and seek shelter away from the international border.
We are right now in this village called Glar, and this falls in one of the foremost areas of Samba sector. Barely few meters away from this particular village is where the international border lies, and we've been told that this village is in the direct line of fire. In fact, we've been advised not to stop our vehicles or come out because the shelling that was taking place had directly landed at many spots in this village. In fact, 4 of the injured persons are from this village, and one of the women who was injured has later on succumbed to the injuries. What we can actually show you from the window of this car, actually the spots of those shells which have landed here. Look at these spots. If my cameraman can zoom in a little, you can actually see the remains of those mortar shells that landed in this village just few hours back. Very dangerous situation. Most of the villagers here are actually living this life. They're telling us that throughout the night they actually were witnessing this scene, and very early in the morning for some time this entire sequence stopped. Sometime there was a brief lull in the firing, but it picked up again around 9, and even at 10 a.m. there were shells that landed in this village. Look at this village. Most of it is completely empty now. Most of the people have left their houses. The children, elderly and women have already been shifted out, and the men are some of them are still guarding their houses, but mostly even they are being told to evacuate and leave these places because it's very unsafe. I'm once again repeating that even we are being advised not to venture out of the cars. We've been told that we should make our way out of this village as soon as possible because this village directly falls in the line of fire. With cameraman Dilip Sahu, Shujaul Haq in Samba sector for Headlines Today.
मैं नहाने गया था और वहाँ पर गोलाबारी हुई तो उससे लगे हुए।
कब से हो रही है गोलाबारी?